those tuning in, welcome. My name is Kevin. I am the Marketing and Outreach Associate with Helping Hand, and this is the first episode of our podcast. And I'm joined here with CEO and President Bill Dwyer. So with that being said, just to give a little bit of context as to why this podcast was started, we realized that Helping Hand has a lot of resources and knowledge and valuable team members that can offer and share a lot of insight. If you're a client or a family member of a client, then I'm sure you probably know of these things. But if you're not, then we wanted to create this as a way to offer those resources and insight to you, because we know that it may not be as accessible as we hope it is. And we hope that this podcast drives more accessibility to those interested and who need those resources. So with that being said, thank you for joining me on the first episode.
No, thanks, Kevin. This is awesome.
Well, my plan is to share the mission and vision statement with our audience, just to establish with them what we do and remind ourselves why we do it. But since this is our first episode, I will let you do the honor of sharing those statements.
Very good. Something I enjoy doing very much. I think if you're any organization, but specifically if you're a nonprofit organization, you have to have your vision and mission in your mind, on your mind, all of our staff at all times. We wrote our mission and vision statement with a small group of staff and clients many years ago. That was a fun year of just creating and thinking through who we really are. The mission and vision, it wasn't who we want to be. It was who we already were and how do we put it into words. And the way we look at the vision is why we exist, the direction we're going, and it's sort of like the big picture. It's the final outcome, and sometimes those are very difficult to reach, and they should be, because you want to be really challenged to get there. So our vision statement right now is for people with disabilities to be equally valued in all communities. That's a big deal because I think we've talked about in the field long enough, probably since the 80s, late 80s, we talked about inclusion. And I think inclusion was wonderful for the time, but it's time to move forward. It's more than inclusion. I think it's that we have to get to the place of equally valued. So when somebody is not there, you don't just replace them with somebody else with a disability and say you're done. It's, no, we miss Steve or Susan. We miss their value that they bring, just like right now. If you weren't running this podcast, I'd be like, oh man, Kevin's not here. We can't do it without Kevin. We got to have him. That's because you have value in what you do. And I think we all feel that in some way, but a lot of people with intellectual developmental disabilities are not seen as value. They're almost seen as we need to be included because it's the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. I think it should be done because it helps us move forward in who we are.
Right.
So that's the vision. The next piece is the mission. And the mission is, well, how are you going to do that? How are you going to accomplish that big vision that you have? And if you notice in our mission statement, we don't mention anybody intellectual disabilities or disabilities or anything like that. And that's very deliberate because how to get there is not put on the people with disabilities. Some organizations will say, well, our mission is to help people with disabilities become more independent or for them to do this or that. Most of them are ready to do that. And so this organization has to be available to help people connect to people with disabilities.
Right.
We're going to meet Leon at some point. You're going to see he's ready. It's the rest of us. It's that 99% of us who are not ready. We're either scared or nervous or don't know what to do. So our mission statement is transforming lives of all connected to Helping Hand through genuine care and education. So we feel that every time there's an opportunity to connect with somebody, we need to teach them what disabilities is about or teach them about who Helping Hand is. That's why this podcast is so important, I think.
Right.
So we can get there. Genuine care, it's just who we are here. I had nothing to do with that. It's the last 60, almost 70 years of service here that it's just always been here, genuine care. So those are our mission and vision statement. Do you want to talk about the logo, or do you want to wait on that?
Yeah, since we're talking about what we're all about, then we may as well feature the logo. So, for those who have video, I'm trying to make it as accessible as possible, but this is our logo. And it has strategically been stylized to represent what we're about, our genuine care, and how we are oriented around helping others. So do you want to shed some light as to some of the decisions that were made to create the logo what it is now, and why those decisions were made because of what they represent?
Yeah, I definitely do, because the logo and the way we wrote the name is so then we all can remember this a little bit easier. It tells a story. We think that the mission is not just for the people we serve. It's the mission I walk for myself. I'm trying to transform people's lives. I'm trying to connect. I'm trying to be genuine, just like every one of our staff here. So if we start at the top, those are stylized H's. You can sort of see it there. But the way we made them is on right and left, you can see those are two heads. I don't know, maybe I'll hold it. Let's see.
Sure.
And then I can point. So these are two heads right here. And this is an arm being stretched out because we are helping hand. No S on the end of that.
No S.
No S. Because we were founded on one hand to help someone and one hand to help yourself. That's why there's no S on the end, and I think that's pretty cool. So we wanted to keep that in our logo where it's a hand reaching out to help somebody. When you move to the colors that we chose, we did a lot of groups with families and stakeholders to say, what do you think about Helping Hand when you are thinking about our services? And one of the things that came up from a family member was the word evergreen. Evergreen means that it doesn't die. It's always alive. And we thought, wow, that's pretty cool, because that is who we are. We won't say that we're the most innovative, but we are cutting edge in a lot of ways, and we're keeping ahead of most by what we do. And so we wanted to make sure there was green tones inside of our logo. The other piece was that we want to be seen. People with disabilities are not trying to blend in and pretend like they don't have disabilities. They're there, and their disability is a value. Who they are as a person is a value. So we want to be bright enough so we're noticed and seen. You could also see the color changes almost. It transforms in that ribbon of color right there. That's part of our mission statement, is we're trying to transform people's lives. And the H's at the bottom, there's this little rounded corner on these two parts of the H's, because the transformation does not mean that it's a completely different person. It's just making it a little bit better. It's just a little bit more positive. Not it's a whole new thing. My favorite part of our logo is the angle of the cross and the H. And the reason I like that so much is because H still has value. I know what it is. It's the letter H. And without that, I couldn't say helping or hand. So it's there, just like our clients, except it's a little bit cooler and special and brings even more value to the word. So I love the whole thing came together to connect to our mission vision, and hopefully it helps everyone remember.
I think it's cool seeing the different choices behind the scenes because to
Right.
a regular everyday individual, it's just two H's. But when you get into the nitty gritty of it, you realize like why those features are the way they are and what they represent. Because it's very meaningful, but on a surface level, you wouldn't recognize that.
Right. Thank you for noticing that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So since we do focus on transforming lives, I think it would be good to share some of the team members and programs that transform lives.
Sure.
So we have a couple different programs if you want to share, as well as maybe the amount of clients that we serve.
We work with children from about 3 years old. We've had a few that were younger, but predominantly 3 years old, and we had a gentleman who passed away at 90-some years old a couple years ago, and everything in between. So for our younger crew, we have a clinic that serves public aid, which is a big deal because a lot of organizations don't do that. We don't get reimbursed at a high rate, but we still provide high quality therapists. So that clinic continues to grow here at Helping Hand. We have people that drive over an hour to come use our services. And what I think is neat is every time I hear the therapists greet our young people and our clients, it's, "Are you ready to play?" So you see the kids who are crying when they're leaving more than they're crying when they're coming. That's a cool thing. Then we have a school. We have a school for children with intellectual disabilities, and that's from early childhood, which we just added, and we're very excited about that. That's a 3-year-old and up. It's children before they've ever been in school, because the more you can be proactive, the less adult services they're going to need in the future. And goes all the way up to adults. We provide extra services for school-age children, but then we also have teenagers and adults that use the services to continue their improvement. And that's speech, physical therapy, occupational therapy, behavioral therapy, mental health, eating therapy, and we also do hearing screenings in there. Then you move into our vocational program, which is helping adults, that's 18 and older, find jobs in the community. These are competitive, real jobs, not charity jobs. They bring value to the companies that they're at, and the secret that a lot of these companies find out is that they're actually even better at doing the job than some others that they may be hiring. But they also make the environment and culture better. They love coming to work. Rarely do they complain about being there. And I think it helps other employees see, wow, having a sustainable purpose in my life is valued. And maybe I should think a little more positive about my company too. We do training to help people get better at their job. We do support. The state only provides funding for 90 days of support, but we provide over a year. So we do pro bono after 90 days because we want to guarantee that that person stays and is successful in their job. We have a day program, which is in the community and within a building that we have. And it's sort of like college. We have maybe 15 different areas that they can study. They change classes throughout the day. The building comes alive because you could see people coming and going. Other agencies I've worked in, they may not be as full of life. They're sitting in a classroom for the whole day. Where here they're getting different teachers, they're meeting with different of their friends, and it's always moving and shaking. Computers, STEM. One of our vocational trainings that we have is art. So it's not arts and crafts, which we do offer, and a lot of organizations do. These are individuals that are true artists, and they're studying and making money off of their own art. So that's a pretty fun thing for them to learn. The last thing we have is residential community homes. So they're living in the community with the rest of us in a regular home, doing what they do like we all do. And it's anywhere from 4 people to about 6 or 7 people in our homes. We try to match up their energy and their likes, not their diagnosis. It's fun because a lot of them will call each other and they hang out at other houses, or they call other friends who pick them up and they go do things in the community just like the rest of us do every day. They have to make sure their house is clean. They got to do their budgeting, but we support that through case management and that. We continue to grow. I've been here about a little over 6 years, and when I started we were just over 13 million, and we're going to finish this year over 20 million. Our employees are about 240, and we serve about 800 clients, unduplicated clients, to be everything that they can be. to reach their full potential.
I think when some people might hear that we have, around 800 clients and 240 team members, they might be wondering, how do all these clients receive genuine care, as well as how do we transform their lives? But, with my time here, as I've visited the school and I visited the residential programs and the community day program, I realized that everybody who's a team member at Helping Hand really does provide that genuine care that we speak of. Because, you walk into a room and the clients are just always joyful, super energetic, and that gets maximized even more when, one of their favorite team members steps in the room, or if they're engaging with one of their favorite team members. So it's cool to see that although we do offer this many programs and we do serve that many clients, they're still receiving that individualized, high-quality care that,
Yeah, I think that's important. The theme of this last few years has been protect and grow. And as I've already explained to you, we are growing and we're going to continue to grow. But we're not continuing to grow to take over all of Illinois or the United States or any of that matter. We want to stay boutique. We want to stay genuine. And that's where the protect comes in. It's protecting that high level of quality that not only our clients receive, but our staff receive from the organization. Sometimes when we focus on growth too much, then you have to sacrifice some of your quality. For example, McDonald's is everywhere. And I believe that McDonald's feels that they have high quality, but their standard is very different than if you went to a burger house that says this is the highest quality meat. I think McDonald's obviously is doing an amazing job, but they changed their standards. It's more cookie cutter. It's how do we get in and get out, and at the very least, the CEO does not know every employee and every client. I think that's what makes us special, is being big enough where we can have economies of scale to then make sure that we're running a very efficient program with high wages and benefits, but at the same time, everybody knows each other. And, I love that you said when you visit, and that's important to us. Our CFO knows people in the school and in the adult program. People who you wouldn't expect, they know people because they are part of our mission and they understand it's not just a job, it's how do you connect with every single person that's here.
In regard to connecting with others, I know we focused a lot on connecting with our clients, but I remember during my orientation a few months back, you mentioned that one of your initiatives that you keep in mind when running Helping Hand is that you are putting staff first. And I just was wondering what drove you to start practicing that strategic initiative?
I'm glad you noticed that, because that is, I think, a big culture difference from us and many other companies, not just nonprofits, but many other companies. I've worked for probably 6 or 7 agencies, and I've heard leadership say staff are first, but I haven't seen them walk the walk. What I know for sure, in my heart, it's down to the people who genuinely care and educate our adults and students. It's not about what programs you develop or your fancy logos and all that kind of stuff, even though ours is cool. It's still not about that. It has to get to, are the people that work there happy? Do they feel genuinely cared for? Are they valued? Are we transparent and communicative? I remember when I first got here and I said I had a big meeting with all 100 and some staff, and I asked them, who's the number one most important person at the agency? And almost in unison they said, students and clients. And they were all proud of themselves, and then I was on the microphone and I said, you're wrong. It's you. Well, some of them actually fought back, and they said, how can you say that? These people need us. You have to put them first. And my explanation to them is, if me and the organization and the leadership puts the clients first, we're going to be in the weeds all day and constantly trying to figure out these cool programs. But if you don't have people to run those programs, it doesn't matter. Our staff are the cool product almost. They are the Apple phone. That's what makes us special, is we have this cool technology or this cool way of doing things. If you don't put all of your effort and time into developing and securing your staff, you're losing a lot. You know, about 80% of our expenses are people. So why shouldn't I put the most of my time into making sure they're the highest paid, that they're compensated well, that we educate them on how to use all of their benefits over and over again. We care about them as much as we care about our clients, because what we found out then, after 5-6 years of doing this, they care about our clients and students more. And that's what we knew would happen. So the leadership doesn't have to keep reminding them to do little things like smile, care about them, ask them how they're feeling, because they genuinely want to. They're not thinking as much about their life or how come I don't get paid enough or all these kind of things. They are so in the moment with people that you can see the programs they develop are becoming awesome, and they own them, so then they make them better and better. And you got to walk that walk every day. I got to be able to connect with all my staff. I don't know necessarily everybody's name right away, but I do know their story, and I do take time to listen to them and do what I can to make changes to policies that may help them. We're scratching about 23% turnover, and currently in the state of Illinois, in our field, it's over 40, almost 50% turnover. So some people may say 20-some%, that's high. We're doing fantastic. I wish we can get it lower, but it's because we put in the last 6 years valuing our employees. When COVID came around and I said, we need you, they said, tell us what you want. Because it's not the first time that I asked them. We cared about them 6 years ago, before COVID. So they were ready to stand up with us, and we didn't have to close any programs or any homes. We didn't lay anybody off. We paid every employee through COVID, even if they weren't working, because we valued them once COVID left. It's got to be team members number one, so then they can put everyone else in the company number one.
I think another element of the Staff First initiative that really drives that point home, on top of everything else that you mentioned, is, you know, the in-service events that we have. Because, you know, when I first started, the in-service event was my first experience seeing pretty much everybody at Helping Hand, because it's just a large congregation of all the Helping Hand members.
We do that about once or twice a year.
Right.
Yeah.
And what was cool about that is you really, especially at the time I was brand new, but it was cool because you got to see really how driven the staff is around the mission and the vision. And it's cool because you're having all these people here, and some of them are in completely different departments and different buildings, but when they're all together, you would think they're in the same department almost, or they were like friends, genuine friends outside of the workplace, which, you know, there are. But it's just cool to see being able to have the opportunity to get everyone together. I don't think a lot of organizations have the opportunity for their staff to do that.
I don't think so either. I mean, this was something, again, that Helping Hand had always worked into their schedule, is to have these in-service days where you close everything you can close. Obviously, we're a 24/7 organization, and so some people still have to care for our adults. But what we've done with that time is really enhance the moments. So again, it's about connecting. It's about that relationship. Having an opportunity as the CEO to not only speak to all my staff at once, but then to have lunch with them that day and be part of trainings that we're going through. or be part of team building processes at the time, we really get to know each other. I think that connection and that communication is big. In-service is one of them. And then we have a big party for all staff at one point too. And we give a lot of gifts away, and money and food and fun. And then we do town halls twice a year in very small, intimate groups where all the